Welcome to the final episode in the series of Milesh and Sadie Property Talks, Smart Investments, Beautiful Spaces. So we thought on this last episode we would share our top tips and takeaways to kind of round things off. So if you've listened to previous episodes, you'll have heard some of this stuff already, but we thought we'd bring it all together under this one to kind of summarize it all. So
yeah, should we quickly recap about who we are?
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't you go first?
I will. Thanks, Milesh. Hello, I'm Sadie, and I have an interior design firm called Sadie Pizzey Interiors, and we work with pretty much everybody, so homeowners, commercial clients and developers, and we specialise in renovation and construction projects, and that is because we understand construction. We have a 10-step process, if you haven't heard us bang on about it before, and we make sure that our projects are beautifully coordinated and they are on time, on a budget, as well as looking phenomenal. Milesh, over to you.
Hi, I'm Milesh Lakhani. I have been a property investor for over 20 years. Got a range in the portfolio from buy-to-lets, HMOs, land, planning gain, deals, assisted sales. More recently set up the Property Edge, which is made up of a monthly networking group. And I also do some consulting under the Property Edge on a one-to-one basis for people who looking to get into property or want to scale their existing businesses. So that's a bit about us. Let's talk about top tips and takeaways.
Yeah.
So what are your...
Oh God, so many.
Give us one of your top tips.
Okay. I mean, I have talked about it quite a lot before, but I think top tip number one is the power of collaboration and getting the right team together. It just, for me, well, for my clients, pays dividends. I'm really lucky that I've done a number of projects with the same dream team, and that's a name that we've been given by our clients.
Nice.
Lovely, isn't it? And that is basically us, architect, structural engineer, contractor, garden designer. And the beauty of why we now work together and why we are recommended together is because we are such a collaborative team, and we really do take the pressure off our clients. Yeah. So we are experts in all our different areas, but we also really understand that we will problem solve together. We will share on and lean on each other when we need to. And, you know, we've had clients come in and gone, honestly, that was a dream. Like, it was fun to be part of the design process, but then I didn't even really know any of the problems that were going on, unless they were big and we needed to talk them through. You guys just problem solved, got on with it, and delivered this. And so that's what you want. You know, you want to find that team that is going to be there to handhold and to take you through, because they are going to save you time and money, and you're going to end up with something far better than you're going to manage on your own.
And so what are the downsides of not working with the dream team?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you can end up with working with bad people. I mean, I know that sounds awful, but we've all watched enough sort of cowboy builders to understand that, you know, not everybody, they're not all experts, and you aren't going to necessarily end up with something great if you don't get your team right. I think also I've worked on jobs where the contractor hasn't really seen the value of having the designer on board, and they've been quite standoffish. That's been really hard, and that doesn't work well either, because...
So how do you manage that and the client's expectations in that scenario?
We really try and build a relationship. Like, I really, really try and, you know, be constantly communicating with the contractor, really sharing everything that we're doing, asking their advice. I try to be on site as much as possible, not to be a hindrance, but just so that we can try and get to know each other. And it's not just the main contractor. I'm trying to get to know the whole team, you know. And I really, really, you know, I work really hard at that. If that becomes a problem, then we communicate it with the client, because you have to make sure that everybody is going to be part of that, and understand that that's really important. But when it's right and when everybody's on board, I can't tell you the difference in a project. It's not even just that it looks incredible at the end, but it is that the build goes faster, there's less problems, there's, you know, they tend to be cheaper builds. It's all of that.
Because time is money, right?
Time is money.
So if there's delays, certainly from an investor angle or developer angle, then those delays are going to cost you, because there's likely to be finance externally 100%. Involved, which is going to cost you by the day. So yeah, the collaborative part
Yeah.
massively plays into
And not
saving
just that, also like we've, you know, when we've got great relationships with our contractor, we really want them to say like, you know, if you just tweak to this, Sadie, actually we could save such and such thousands here if we just change this, then we're open to that, and we love people telling us that kind of feedback.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't even express it enough. It just really it pays dividends to have that great team in place.
So tip 1, collaboration is key.
100%.
To get the dream team.
To get the dream team.
Love it.
Tip for you.
Well, nobody was surprised with this one.
What could it be?
It's about strategy first.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, it literally is everything.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have a plan or a strategy, then you're opening yourself up to more risk and more cost. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? Well, I've said loads and loads before. Know why you're getting into property, know what your limitations are and what skills you can bring to it, and align that to what you want to get out of property. And if you plan that out in the right way and take the time and thinking and effort and external help that you can to build that strategy, it will pay dividends in no end. It's a bit like when you guys say, you know, get us in early doors, because there's way more benefits in doing so. Similar thing with the strategy side. You've got to start with that first.
Yeah.
And then top tip 2, which I'll come on to, is about finances, and be very mindful of that. And the two play, like, they just work together hand in hand. You have to have that. So yeah, it's all about the strategy. Due diligence is kind of 1B, because you've got to de-risk stuff as much as you possibly can, but work with the constraints and the challenges and the skills that you've got, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
To build that strategy.
Would you say that you really need to have your strategy nailed before you even go out and find property?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that might be the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Because until you know what you want from it, and until you know how much time and money you've got, you don't know what to go and look at.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're looking to build a rental portfolio, then you ain't going to go to central London to try and find property.
No.
Because your entry costs are high.
And
your yield is going to be lower.
Yeah.
And so you've got lots of money left in that deal, and your rental may cover your mortgage, it may not. Forget about making money on it. So if your strategy is income, then that's not delivering it. In 5 years' time, the capital values might have gone up.
Yeah.
And then when you exercise that by exiting or refinances, then you've got a big pot of cash.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But if you set up for a monthly income, it ain't central London. And so you've got to understand that, look at areas, look at lots of areas, understand what the purchase to rental ratios are, to find one that's going to match your need in terms of what you want, and then go. But before that, I would say you're kind of peeing in the wind a bit.
Yeah. I think that kind of leads me slightly into mine, that preparation is everything.
Yeah.
And I think that is for both our worlds, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because even when you're doing a build, I think it's really, you know, you've got through completion and you just want to drive forward. But the problem is, if you haven't done all of your due diligence at that point, you don't know what your costs are. And therefore, you don't know really whether what you're building is going to be financially viable. So you have to almost go, you know, right, we're now going to set aside the time to really build the design, understand the costs, and know that this is going to work before we hit the spade into the ground.
Yeah. And like, you know, when I first started out, one of my key lessons when it comes to the refurb is I needed to be much clearer on my spec.
Yeah.
So when I had builders round to come and quote, I was led by them on, oh, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. And then what happened? I got 3 quotes, and guess what? They were all different because all the requirements. No. I didn't go for the cheapest actually, but all the quotes that came back were different.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't clear on what my spec was, to a point where I could say, right, I want this, and that's it. And then when the second guy comes in, I'm telling him the same stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Because otherwise you don't get like for like.
No, you don't. And that is such a bugbear of ours. I almost wish I'd put it in that earlier video, because what I hate is when clients have just gone, I just asked the builder what we should put in.
Yeah.
Because they are great at design. I mean, it's like you'd ask us what we should build, how you would build the house.
Yeah.
No, they're great at what they do, but they are not the designer. They don't, and they don't understand the market. And that's really key when you said you didn't understand your finishes. When we work our early steps, step one is we are really drilling down to understand, if it's with a developer, what is the market? What is the demographic? What are they going to expect? And then from there, we are then putting together the finishes and everything that work with that demographic. If you don't do that work, then like you say, you end up with prices all over the place, and you end up with your PC sums in there.
Yeah, well. So you don't know what you don't know is where I learned that to start with, right?
Yeah.
Because guess what? There was issues with like the flooring, and we had to change the joists and all that sort of stuff. And then, we decided that we weren't going to skim the ceilings, but we needed to, and it just went a little bit. And the other thing, I put unnecessary timescale on the project, on the refurb, when actually that was a timescale I just made up and wanted to work to.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, had I not put that in, I could have gone with somebody else who might have been a bit cheaper. I could have spent a bit more time on understanding the spec and getting better quotes, better quality quotes. So loads and loads of learnings. But I've taken that experience and moved on from it. And for people who are looking to get into it and want to work with me, I've already made that mistake, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think that's paramount as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's true. I mean, you are always going to make mistakes on this journey. You have to stop and learn from them, and then move on.
Move forward. And that's the quickest way of learning, or the best way of learning.
Yeah.
Maybe not the quickest.
I think
not the cheapest.
It's not the cheapest, but I do think it's actually a really good top tip. Is that when you make mistakes, and like we said, they're unavoidable, you have to stop and analyze, how could I have prevented that?
Yeah.
And we actually, even as interior designers, we get to the end of a project and we'll sort of evaluate, what went well, what didn't. And I will list out the things like in documents and save them. These are the mistakes we made on this project, so that on the next project we don't make them. There'll be other ones because no one's perfect. But if you actually take time, document, analyze, that makes you grow. Yeah.
I picked up what went well and even better if.
Okay.
From when I was working in a school.
Yeah.
Because they use that with the children.
Yeah.
On what went well with this and even what would make it even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so those two things, or a wash up, or whatever you want to call it, that post project review, evaluation, whatever it may be, is really, really important.
Yeah.
But it's good to have the meeting, but a lot of people do that and then forget about it.
They do.
But you've got to take the learnings from that and the successes from that, and then put it into the next thing.
Yeah.
So top tip 2 done for you then.
Top tip 2 for you.
So I talked about strategy a lot under 1.
Yeah.
2 is finances.
Okay.
And make sure you're really clear on the finances. So I've talked previously about, in our situation, we had an income goal that we needed to meet with property.
Yeah.
Based on the strategy. And then it was about, okay, how am I physically going to achieve that? What income do I want out of each HMO?
Yeah.
And then lift up a level. How much is it going to cost me to buy that? What's it going to cost me to refurb that? You can then go another step and say, okay, how much am I buying them for? And this is where your due diligence all comes good, right? Because you know what type of house you want to buy, you know what area it's going to be in, and therefore you know what sort of price you can afford to pay for a house like that.
Yeah.
And another step from that, you can say, okay, well, how much am I going to need to build my whole portfolio?
Wow.
How many hundreds of thousands am I going to need to build that portfolio to generate me that income?
Yeah.
And so the finance element is really, really critical from a strategy perspective. Then you've got your ongoing stuff. So your cost of business costs. Who factors that in? Business first, property second, right?
Yeah.
There are accountancy fees. There are, marketing fees. There are agent fees. All of these costs need to be factored in to every deal that you put in. But even if you haven't got deals, if you're running a business, there's going to be costs.
Yeah.
Where are you working from? Is it an office? Is it a home? Should you be charging back as part of your accounts? All that sort of stuff. Your accountancy fees, understanding what a set of accounts looks like.
Yeah.
But how many people actually know that and understand it to a point where they can challenge their accountant over certain numbers and build their business where it's going to be efficient as possible?
Yeah.
So accountancy and understanding at a high level, because you've got your specialist there, like it's really, really critical. And also what does your company need to look like to make you more attractive when it comes to lending for mortgages and refinances? All that stuff kicks in. Then you've got development finance. Finances are absolutely critical. Like it or not,
I feel like we could do a whole podcast.
You probably could.
Yeah.
We'll just walk through a whole deal and look at all of the costs associated.
Yeah.
Broker fees, solicitors fees, agent fees I've talked about. There's loads to cover. And it's just about, alongside your strategic plan of what good looks like and where you want to get to, there's got to be a financial plan that sits alongside it.
I mean, that I think goes for both of us. Like, you have to know the money. You have to understand the costs and the figures, and then stick to them, basically.
And loads of people say, I'm not very good with numbers or good at maths. Well, you need to get good.
Yeah. I say that to my kids. They're like, I can't wait to give up maths. I'm like, you're going to have maths with you for life. So
it's in everything we do.
Yeah, it is.
Literally
you can't
everything.
avoid it. Even as a creative interior designer, I have to understand it. So I'm in spreadsheets every day.
So final one.
Top tip number 3 is, gosh, it's really hard. What would I say about it? There's so many in our industry of interior design, but I think probably it's understanding the importance of spatial planning, because I really do think it can make or break the success of a building. So if, ideally you're going to work with an architect and an interior designer. And why I say that we both play an important role is the architect looks at the building sort of outside in, and we do the opposite. So when you get both coming together, it means that both are working alongside each other. Often what we get brought in because the architect's done the outside in plan and they've sort of put some rooms in, but they don't, because the client doesn't understand what is exactly going to go into the room. They don't know if that's going to work. And so when we work together with an architect, we can say, brilliant, you send over those files. We're now going to put in everything we've learned from the drill down chat, and we're going to see if they work in those spaces. And if not, before you go off to planning or building control or whatever, we can tweak it.
I was going to ask, what point? Is it before you've submitted for planning?
Really, it should be. And we've had a number of clients where we've suddenly had to, whether it's a homeowner, we had a homeowner who said to us, all this massive kitchen and this huge dining table.
Right.
And by the time we'd slotted it all in, the extension wasn't big enough. So we said, to the architects, we need to just push out an extra meter. And just that extra meter meant that they had all the circulation space and they could fit everything in. Okay. But if we hadn't done that till after planning, you're screwed. Sorry, you can't have everything you wanted on that wish list. Yeah. So it's really important when you come together and you do it early on, the spatial planning of a building, like I said, I think lots of people just think, well, I'm just going to extend it. I'm just going to make it bigger. But it could just end up as a really expensive, wasted space that doesn't add any value, that doesn't make sense within the building or within the, the home or the commercial space. So that spatial planning early on is invaluable.
So rather than submitting planning sakes, where you've got to have a floor plan that kind of shows a bed and a wardrobe and whatever, you really need to hone in on that.
100%. And it goes back to, again, if you're doing like, a load of 2-bed units then it's easy to see quite early on whether it's going to work. But if you're getting into the high-end luxury residential or commercial, there's so much more that people want inside those spaces that you really need to make sure that the spaces work to slot everything in. So that is my final tip for today.
Cool.
Milesh?
So my third tip is long-term mindset.
Okay, interesting.
And I guess that plays into what we talked about before around, outside influences like market and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the classic example on this is you've bought a property that you want to hold on to, you've overspent on your refurb and you've refinanced it, and actually the valuation's coming lower. So you're, a few grand over and above what you should have spent on it, and your valuation's coming lower, which means you're able to take less money out of that deal. Not great from a short-term perspective. However, there is an upside in that if your property is valued lower, so if it's valued at, can't make the numbers easy, if it's valued at 200 grand instead of 250 grand, you'll only get 75% mortgage typically.
Yes.
So you're going to get 150 grand as a mortgage amount. If you had it valued at 250, your mortgage value is going to be higher.
Yeah.
Right? which means you can take more money out.
Yeah.
So whilst that hasn't happened, you've got a lower mortgage now. So what does that actually mean? Because
you're
paying off a 150 grand mortgage,
yeah.
you're going to get more money per month. Where if you take more money out,
yeah.
your rental will be lower because you've got a higher mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look at it over a mid to long term period,
yeah.
the increase you're getting in rent is going to pay you that capital back over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it may mean that you can't go and buy your next deal as quickly as you thought,
yeah.
but you are still getting a payback.
Yeah.
And so having that mid to long term view and not looking at it from a, oh my God, I've been downvalued or my refurb's gone up or whatever. Yeah, it's a kick in the teeth. And actually there's learnings from that we've talked about that you need to factor into the next one.
Yeah.
But there is an upside because you're getting more rent.
Yeah.
And so that summarizes that mid to long term view and having that view, because if you're looking for a 20% ROI on your money put in, rather than get the money back in 5 years, if it's 15%, it's going to be over 7 and a bit years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So loads of numbers and information there, but it's about looking at it from a mid to long term view rather than a deal by deal basis, which can be a bit frustrating, but you are going to get the return out eventually. Yeah. As long as you're not forced to sell the thing and have to accept a lower offer or need to sell it because you're completely wiped out, then it's fine. Just soak it up and just keep hold of it for a little bit longer than you might have intended initially, I think. So good, that's my final tip.
Yeah, I think those are really interesting top tips. And it's amazing because there's so much overlapping. There's so much that you said that is exactly the same from my perspective.
Yeah.
Mindset, like you said, it's really, really important. I think in the property game, no matter what, there is so much that can go wrong. You can get really down by it. You have to constantly be looking at what are the opportunities, how can I pivot, how can we move forward.
Yeah.
And I think we both bang on about the importance of due diligence and planning, which is not particularly an exciting, sexy topic.
I'll talk about it a bit more.
But I think, hopefully you've learned from listening to us, if you've listened to all 6 episodes, that just the value that goes into that. It's easy to get carried away and go, I just want to buy a property and get going and this is really exciting. Yeah. In the same way, it's easy to think, I just want to renovate and I want to, make it bigger and go, get all the paint on the wall. But if you don't do your homework early on, then you are going to make mistakes and it is going to end badly.
Yeah. So have the clarity right at the outset as much as you possibly can, I think is one of the key things. And keep moving.
Yes.
Don't be blinded by other influences or what others might be doing better than you. Just keep on keeping on. Have the right support and the right leverage and the right network around you, I think is another one. So actually, this has demonstrated why property and design links back to why we're even doing this.
Thank goodness. Right? Otherwise, people have been tuning in for 6 just rubbish episodes.
But to me, it's definitely over recording these over a number of weeks. It's really opened my eyes on the importance of the collaboration of the design element as well as the finance and numbers and strategy element.
100%.
And the benefit of understanding both of these elements together.
Yeah. And also, I think it's about the dream team goes all the way back from having the right support early on from your, even from your due diligence and your purchasing of the property, all the way through to the construction at the end. So it's putting the right people in place for your journey. That is what's going to help you. It's going to, move you forward and avoid making mistakes.
Don't go solo.
Don't go solo.
It's lonely and scary.
Exactly.
So just to close off, how can people get hold of you?
Yes, so we have our website, sadiepitzeynteriors.com. And then we are also on Instagram and LinkedIn under Sadie Pizzey Interiors. And we would love to hear from you there. Equally, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave reviews, and do all that here as well. And Milesh?
So I'm on all the social media platforms, Milesh Lakhani. We've also got the Property Edge page on Instagram and LinkedIn. So anything property related, if it's networking, if it's one-to-one consulting, then feel free to reach out there.
Thank you for listening or watching the last 6 episodes of our series. We hope that you've found it useful. We would love to hear some feedback. So either you can leave us a review or feel free to message us through Instagram, website, whatever, if you've got some ideas as to what you'd like us to cover next.
Cool. Thank you, Sadie.
No worries. See ya.